Alrighty. So my man's Thomas loves a bit of Dungeons and Dragons, but his dice live in these sad little plastic boxes that they came in. And so this week I want to change that. I'm going to put these down because they're rattling too much. These are Dungeons and Dragons. These are D&D dice. So this week I want to make him some dice bags, and I had initially thought of doing little velvet pouches with some embroidery on them, but then I thought we could have a lot more fun with this, and by we I mean I could have a lot more fun with this if I make little D&D themed accessories that are dice bags out of felt. I had so much fun making the accessories for my rat swarm slippers, all the little hats and coffee cups and stuff. This makes me so ridiculously happy. This should be fairly easy, I think, because we're not going to be using any steam finishes because it's going to be felt. We can do all of this with hand sewing, and I just love making tiny, adorable little things out of felt. So that's what we're doing this week. So here are my plans for the designs. First of all, I understand that bag of holding is an item in D&D, and I don't know what that's supposed to look like, but I've been playing Skyrim lately, and I love the style of the knapsack in that, so we're going to base the first one on the knapsack from Skyrim. I don't know how we're gonna do the tiny buckles, we'll figure it out. I had a little flip through some of Thomas's D&D books to look for items, and there were these really pretty potion bottles. And so we're going to make a potion bottle design. They'll come out the neck, yeah. I also, this is mostly for my enjoyment, really wanna do a spell book. So cute. And the last one, just because I love making hands for some reason, I want to make Mage Hand, which as far as I can tell is a cantrip. I think it's a cantrip. It's supposed to be a spectral floating hand that you can control. Most of the illustrations that I've seen when I looked it up were blue and like wispy, so I thought for that one, we could also attempt to needle felt some like blue loose wool onto it to give it a spectral look. That's going to be the toughest one. Now I do have some stand up. I do have some felt left over, but I do need to get some other colors. So first of all, let's go shopping. I headed out to Winterwood, a shop that specializes in felt, which is crazy. I had no idea there was this level of niche shop available to me. I prefer to buy wool over polyester felt, so that's why we're here. They have a huge range of felts that they hand dye. Aren't they so pretty? As well as commercially dyed felts, and of course, complimentary craft supplies. I picked up this metallic thread, and I nearly bought this little kit because I love Flora so much. Isn't she an icon? I am back. I have coffee. Alf is asleep on his dog bed outside. He never uses it. It's very thrilling. Every single time he gets in there, I take a photo and send it to Thomas. So we have treasures. Oh my gosh, the potion bottle one. Oh, I know I walked away. I'm coming back. No, I'm not coming back. You're coming with me. So here is our little haul. I was so excited to find this one. It's thicker. It's 2mm, I think, which I thought would be really good for the sheets of paper that I want to do on the book. I'll explain. That's our spell book. These are for our gold accents. I had to go with the hand dyed. I just felt like they worked so well together. This one, oh my gosh, this one. Look at that. So that means we can get started. I need to take this jumper off. It got really warm for some reason. I took my jumper off, but now it's chilly again. It's okay because it's autumn and autumn is the best. I just realized that I forgot to buy a felt for the hand. I made a list. I brought all of the felts with me so I would know what I had when I went to the shop. Did I look at any of them? No, I didn't. I remember thinking like, do all I need to get is just stuff for the book? Oh God, Alfie, please be careful. Alfie was stuck under the tripod with visible panic in his eyes. Oh. No, I just gave you a treat. Okay, now I'm warm again. Hey, you just had one, bunny. Boop. So unimpressed. It's really hard to get anything done. We're gonna get started with the knapsack. The main parts, I guess, of this design are it's a slouchy kind of backpack. And obviously the way that we're gonna put the dice into this one is just through the top of the bag and it's got the flap. I want that little long bit where the buckle is, I want that to be how we close it. So that's our main guide there, is the bag should fit that. So we need a little flap. I'm gonna look at my reference picture. I'm gonna do it. I never do it, but I'm gonna look. All right, do the very normal thing of setting an alarm to reply to a text message, because I forgot. Reference image, we were getting the reference image. Okay, so that would be our flap. I just figured out the anatomy of the bag and that piece doesn't make any sense because it's not just two-dimensional, this is a three-dimensional thing. This is why we have patterns. Okay, unfortunately our piece is too big for the felt, but good news, I just realized that the top of the bag needs to be open, so this is too long. Let's go. So stupid. I'm gonna try and remember what a blanket stitch is. Fluffy, don't go under the tripod again. This is gonna be such a cute little backpack. I'm so excited. It's not even. So that's the back and the sides of the bag. And now we need to attach the front. And then the little flap will go over like that. Does anyone who works in hospitality know why high teas are so expensive? I know I'm just having random thought time, but like I love a high tea. And now that I think about it, I'm not sure I've ever actually even done one. Do I just like the idea of high tea? I'm not sure I've actually ever done a high tea now that I think about it, but I really want to. On that random thought, apparently the rest of the world calls it afternoon tea. In Australia, this is a high tea, and it is expensive. I love it. It's so cute. Oh my God. So we also need to do the strap that attaches these two. Oh no, I can't believe we're already at the spot where I need to know what the closure will be. Let's not look too closely in here. It's pretty gross. There's random things that might be useful, like a metal slider. Oh, do I do it? Oh, it's so cute. Can I just say I struggled with the blanket stitch so much. I've made 4 of these dice bags now, and I still don't know how to do a blanket stitch properly. Okay, whoops. I was just about done doing these cute little stitches on the back of the flap here. The camera wasn't on. Oh my God, it's so cute and tiny. Close that bit off, and then we'll do our little decorative stitch around here. It's so tiny. Okay, even I'm surprised at how much I'm gushing at how cute this is. Be brighter. Let's hope I can fix this lighting in post. I could not. You can't see it, but I am attaching a hook and eye here. So cute. So freaking cute. Oh, it's so cute. That was much quicker than I expected. See, I meant what I said in the title. So easy. No sewing machine. Adorable. Well, I'm thrilled with how this is going. I will see you tomorrow for more cozy crafting time. Bye. Oh, I did it again. I wore the cardigan that blends in with the wall. Good morning. Hi. Can I be real with you for a second? I'm filming 2 projects at once. I'm working on a massive project at the moment, and I am having such a hard time remembering which one I'm meant to be talking about and which one I'm working on while filming. It's not how my brain works. I'm not meant to work on multiple things at once. I'm meant to just like do one until it's finished. So we're trying. It's too warm. I've also recently realized that I am like super inarticulate. I am not good with the words. I do figure that I could improve my articulateness. No, that's not it. My wordliness, if I did more reading and writing. And what is that? Is that a super smooth segue into today's sponsorship? No, it's not, but I'm working on it with the help of today's sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is the largest online learning community for creatives with thousands of classes led by industry experts in film, illustration, editing, creativity, and literature and creative writing. This week, I took Robin Walden's class, Fictionalize Your Life, How to Keep a Writer's Diary, and it really got me inspired to write. What I love about Skillshare is that you can just dip your toes into a topic, or you can like really dive right in. Like with Eve Williams' 14-hour class on English literature. Now I can finally live out my dreams of studying literature at university without the crippling student debt. I like to pretend I'm in Gilmore Girls. La la la. The first 500 people to use my link in the description will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare, so get started today. Now let's stick with the book theme and get started on the spellbook dice bag. So, I'm stuck. I have been sitting here for a couple of minutes. I don't know. Maybe the whole thing has to be reinforced. Only way out is through. We're just gonna start. We're gonna start making some shapes. So the book doesn't have to be that big, but it does have to be thick. So the idea for this one was to make it like one of those secret hollowed out books where one might hide contraband. Originally I was just cutting out a pattern, but then I realized that if I did it in cardboard, that would be the base that we add the felt to. So this is the plan, I guess. So the cardboard goes inside a piece of felt, and then we stitch all along so it's like covered both ways, right? Okay, I talked for way too long trying to figure out how I was going to do the pages part of the book. Basically, it was either create the illusion of pages with stitches or actually stack a bunch of felt so it really looks like pages. I did a little test with some layers of PVA glue, and it seems to be holding it together okay. Nice. Let's do it. That doesn't go there. I think it took me so long to figure this out because I wasn't sure if I would be able to get enough of the felt to do this, and also it felt pretty wasteful to cut up the felt like that, but I managed to do it in a pretty economical way, and I'm sure I'll find a use for all the scraps. And now I have to very carefully glue them together, which is one of my worst skills. Next stage, I want to do our spine and outer area of the book, and I think that before I stitch all of it together, I do want to do the embroidery first on the outside. So we're gonna do some I have to sneeze. I was worried it wasn't gonna happen. I'm gonna glue the inside layer to our cardboard backing. I think that'll make it easier to then stitch the other one on top and sandwich the cardboard in between. It's not gonna be too bad. Gosh, making little things with felt is so fun. I gotta say, y'all, I am having such a better time using PVA glue rather than hot glue. Why is it my nemesis? Also, why have I said y'all twice today? So now that I am actually sitting down to do the embroidery, I just realized that I haven't landed on an official design. I was kind of just gonna do like circle with a pentagram, which is gonna do it. I can't freehand a circle. What was I thinking? We're just gonna try it. No, why would you freehand a circle? I'm getting a pencil. That's so much better than what I was gonna do. Why is embroidery so hard? Am I crazy, or does the reverse side look better? This project has really cemented for me that embroidery and also painting are way harder than they look. The painting comes later. So I decided to use the reverse side, but seeing as I can't embroider that way on purpose, I just kept doing what I was doing and stitched from what would be the wrong side. And yes, I'm still doing my janky blanket stitch. I'm sure there's a better way. I am partway through sewing this and I realized, oh, it looks like a tiny passport. That's not what I realized. Our passports are blue in Australia. My passport is blue. I don't know if they're always blue. Focus. I got partway through sewing this and then I remembered that I wanted to put some detail on the spine and that I probably should do that before closing this up. So I am gonna do that now. So what I wanna do is that little thing that you have on like old books where there's a little strip on the spine, maybe that's where the stitching is, I don't know. But there's a little like thick part and then maybe sew a little like gold star in between them. Ooh, it's the longest stretch of voiceover in the video, so you know what that means. It is time for me to remind you to like the video if you're enjoying it. I have been told by a few people that they only remember to like the video when I remind them, so this is specifically for those viewers. However, in terms of subscribing, remember how I said earlier that I am working on another big project while I'm filming this? I have excellent news. It is the most unhinged thing I have ever done, and if you like weird and shaking your head at the screen asking why would you do this, you're gonna like it. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on the next video. I am so excited if you can't tell. Anyway, back to the spellbook bag. I glued the back first and then the spine. I was quite proud of my string solution. For this closure, I found a tiny snap and made sure I reinforced the felt with some interfacing because I did not trust the felt to hold. I embroidered a tiny star, barely in shot, good stuff, and then attached the strap to close the book. So I finished up the spellbook. My hair is bothering me. No, that's worse. So I finished up the spellbook, which means it is now time to start the potion bottle. Isn't this so pretty and perfect for a potion bottle? Like it looks like it's liquid. I don't know which side to use. That's the light one and that's like the darker one. As I look at it in the camera, I feel like the darker one is more striking, so probably that one. But yeah, I think it'd be better if it's only 3 sides because I don't want to break up this pattern too much. I think the best thing to do is just going to be to draw a third of a bottle, cut it out in cardboard, tape it together, hope it works. We just need to make sure that the opening is big enough for the largest dice to come out. Let's try that. All right, I'm seeing a flaw in this 3-part design. Yeah, it's not good. Oh, yeah, that's not the shape that I want at all. It's not a bottle, it's weird. Does it at least fit the dice? No, it's also not big enough for all the dice. Okay, but we learned. I've made a minor modification. I made it a little bit thinner in the neck and a little bit pointier at the bottom. Pattern number 2. It's not big enough to cover the lens. Pattern number 2. Pattern number 2. Yeah, it's not good. So, I think it's a slight improvement. I don't know, it kind of looks like a little fireplace. Some of the proportions are all right. I think what we need actually is to mirror this shape here. So the top part, we bring that one in and then we also mirror it on the bottom. I want it rounded at the bottom. I can figure it out. We can do this. All right, let's go. All right, so this is a new one. It honestly doesn't even look that different to me, but pattern number 3, let's go. We did it. Look, the iterations, but we got there. It got a lot bigger actually now that I look at it. I want it to be smaller than this, but the thing is there will be seams, so it will be smaller than this. So I think it's time we can cut this out in the felt and figure out next steps after that. Who would think that that little shape would make this? Patterns are crazy. Okay, let's do it. Oh damn, I just realized I used the same transition twice. Anyway, didn't these turn out so pretty? I love it. They kind of look like liquid. I really, really like it. However, I am just remembering that my design involves covering the bottom part of the bottle with a gold, and then we're gonna lose part of it, so I gotta say, my level of stubborn laziness is sometimes astounding to me. I struggled with the blanket stitch this whole project, and at no point did I take the few minutes or maybe even seconds to look up how to do it properly. What I did figure out though was I could steam set the felt to hold the shape better. I was super proud of this. And that's blue wool, not hair. I cannot believe the steam setting worked. I had an idea of like, what if I shove some wool in there? You saw it already. It's so cute. This is why you get the pure wool felt, because you can actually steam shape it. Now I have to do the really difficult part where I make a cap for this. Okay, it honestly wasn't difficult at all. I was just, as usual, overthinking it and overcomplicating it to a ridiculous degree. It doesn't need an airtight seal, why would it? So cute. It should sit a little bit higher up. Definitely needs like a little like border thing here. And then I think we might put some little gems around there. And I'd love to have a couple, like you can't see, but some stars and moons hanging off it. I think our next objective is figuring out a way to attach this so that it doesn't just come off. Here's a visual representation of me being really stuck on that non-problem of how to seal the bottle. I'm not 100% sure where we left it. I think my brain was short-circuiting while I tried to figure out how to seal this. And we're still working on that. So in the meantime, I think what we should do is attempt to provide a slight blue tint to my white felt, which I did not get out. I was not prepared. Oh wow, that's probably way too blue. Hopefully it will have a chance to dry before we get to work on this tomorrow. Yeah, I just need like a blue tint. I don't need it to be a lot. Instantly it's a lot. Blue. White. All right, well look, if it dries with any blue in it at all, that'll be great. If it doesn't, I might just cut this bit out. All right, so I think that as usual, the only thing I have managed to stain is my hands and my table, continuing with my theme of just always overcomplicating things to a ridiculous degree. This is mostly a display item and doesn't need to be properly functional in terms of like, oh no, what if the top comes off? Which actually, if you don't exert much speed, it doesn't. Just to make these two a little bit closer in size, I am gonna put a little rim on the inside of this, which I think should help it just stay on a teensy bit better. And then we're gonna attach some jewels and janglies. There we go. That's all it needed. I don't have a better way to do this, so. This being plaiting the gold thread that I bought to make a little tie around the top of the bottle. I don't actually know why potion bottles have those, but they seem to. Plus it gave me somewhere to attach the janglies to. And the potion bottle was done. Good morning. I am getting to the stage, I think, where I've made so many things with hands in it that I could probably justify buying one of those like wooden artist's hands that's like posable. I saw them in Officeworks and I nearly bought one, but also one of them was missing a finger and I thought, okay, probably not a good sign for the level of quality. What were we doing? Hands. It kind of worked. So I think we'll get started with just working out what the size should be, as always. I'm starting to wonder if Thomas has heard the dice so many times that he's figured out what I'm doing. So loud. This is so much bigger than I was picturing. Yeah, it's too small. It looks much smaller once it's actually three-dimensional. The wrist hole needs to be a little bit bigger. Get out. We drew. Sorry, I redrew the pattern with hopefully a more hand-like shape, making the wrist separate because I was hoping to give it a bit of an angle by sloping it towards the joint. I reinforced the wrist with cardboard and planned to close it with a flap that would also be reinforced. I tried to give the thumb a bit of a downward shaping and discovered that hands are harder to make in felt than any of the materials I've tried before. Who knew? Felt is usually so much easier. If I'm honest, I'm not loving the thumb. It's weird. It looks weird, but thumbs are weird if you look too close to them anyway. And I'm thinking that I don't want them to just look like flat, limp little sausages. So I'm gonna construct them similar to that wrist one, where it's wider at the top and then comes down to a narrow point, following the shape of my finger. I'm going to draw some little pattern pieces for this one because I really need to get these like curves of the finger shape, and it'll make sense, I promise. I'm honestly not sure how this little Christmas tree design makes sense, but it kind of made a finger shape. Unfortunately, I think this practice one was the best one I did. I had to be really careful with this make as I had so little of the felt, there was no room for mistakes. But don't worry, there were indeed mistakes. All right, so yeah, we've learned. That is way too thin. Looks really weird now with the thumb. We'll try again. Okay, so I find this kind of hilarious. You know how I just said there's no room for mistakes and we'll try again? I remade the pattern pieces and didn't test them, went straight into the real thing. Also, is this the worst camera transition I've ever done? There's a reason people don't do this kind, it's focus issues. Also, I think I hit the camera in between shots, so this was just pointless. Oh, I hope that works. Obviously it did not. So while I make these doomed fingers, why don't I tell you about the few times I've played D&D? I've done a couple of games, one-shots or small campaigns that were abandoned, but every time, Thomas has been the dungeon master, which so far has meant that I end up furiously flirting with every NPC in the game because they're all played by Thomas, or he indulges me in attempting to defeat a dragon we came across by conjuring an IKEA catalogue and convincing it that it would rather redecorate its cave than attack our party. So I'm not sure that I've ever actually technically played D&D. I think at that stage it's just riffing or at best mildly guided improv. I gotta be honest, I'm not loving how fat some of these fingers are, and I really don't love the shape of the thumb. It looks a little bit silly, but this is all of the felt that I have left, so there's no do-overs with any of these fingers, and I need this felt for doing the little closure at the bottom of the hand. So let's get started on our little wrist and figure out how we're gonna close this thing up. Well, okay, I do know how I want to close it up. Let's figure out if it works. Also, the mess is slightly stressing me out. Don't love it. I gotta say, I quite enjoyed the juxtaposition of this chill lo-fi music, but the thing I'm making is an ugly blue hand. And it is ugly, I said it. You don't have to feel bad for thinking it. We're all thinking it. Hello, welcome. Why did I make a hand? All of the others are so cute. And I was on like a train of I'm gonna make just like really cute dice bags. And then I made a hand. Sometimes, the old noggin. So all we have left to do on the hand now is attempt, and the word is attempt, to needle felt some sort of ghostly presence. I've never done needle felting before. I forgot to buy the little foam mat. And when I say I forgot, I mean, I didn't want to pay $7.50 for a block of foam. I was just like, no. What I do have is this bit of packaging foam that I held on to because I was like, that's gonna come in handy at some point. And guess what? Free little foam block. Surely most foams are like the same. We're going to attempt to add some ghostly spectral, there is the mosquito. Oh, I got it. Ah! There's been a mosquito in the house and I've been trying to get it for like 2 days and I finally got it. We have our slightly blue, very slightly, wool roving. It's probably just gonna look hairy at the end, but I already don't love it. So I mean, we're just gonna make it a little bit worse probably. Let's just give it a go. And no, I don't have finger guards. Why would I? It's me. We'll just be careful. It's fine. I've seen people do this and I think that the method is literally just stab and hope for the best. This is like the dumbest idea I've ever had. It's stupid. Maybe the problem is there isn't enough. Maybe I need to add more. That's probably it. Let's just keep going. To be clear, I don't think this is needle felting's fault. I think this was just a bad idea with a worse execution. I did eventually realize that shaping the wool into tendrils looked more effective, but only slightly. I still don't think it's great. We tried something, doesn't always work out. It's part of the process. Not everything I make is gonna be great. I think it's important to share our failures as much as our successes, so please enjoy. Okay, I feel a bit better about that. Great. So, before we finish this up, I did have one more thing I wanted to do. A little while ago, my brother and his fiance gave me this little box with the idea that I might want to paint it. And I do. It kind of looks like a treasure box. So I figured that we could paint this to be the storage box for the dice bags, and then that way, if he ever needs to take them to a game, he can just carry them in a little treasure box. I did initially think that we'd go with like just like a standard brown, but with the edges of this being brown, I think what I want to do is navy blue with gold stars based on this piece of furniture that I saw. As we know, I don't have original thoughts, so I thought we'd just kind of go with that vibe. I'm gonna eat my paints and a snack. And I'm gonna tell Thomas about the mosquito I killed. So for snack, I went with some lemon cake that I baked the other day, and Thomas's response to me telling him that I'd killed the mosquito for him was to start singing Murder on the Dance Floor. This cake recipe is amazing. It's the BBC vegan one, I'll put it here. Let's try and mix up like a dark bluey gray. Should I have just taken the hinges off? It's on there with screws, I could just take it off. I did take the hardware off. No landlord specials here. And it was super easy. Why do people paint over hinges and door handles all the time? It's easier to paint without the hinge in the way and you're trying to avoid it. Anyway. Oh, also, this is the part where I realized how challenging painting is. I had to go so slow to try to do these stars, which is why all the footage is sped up massively. Seriously? How do painters do it? Is it practice? I hope it's not practice, but it probably is, isn't it? Anyway, once I finished the stars, all I had to do was reattach the hardware and we were done. Okay, let me just say, hats off to painters. If painting is your medium, amazing, very impressive. It is not mine. That was such a struggle. It took so much longer than I expected, but it is finally finished. So I don't know how to say it without saying without further ado. Ado? Without further ado. Much ado about nothing. Yes, okay. Anyway, it's time for the reveal. Let's go.